Hi, welcome to Clutter Bravado.
Yes, and it's the energy. It's not just about the stuff.
So we should probably just get into it, right?
Let's go.
How are you doing?
I'm well.
Do you want to do your cool intro?
All right. Live from the Kimberly Denman studio in Los Angeles, this is Clutter Bravado. I am Laurent Rebeffel, your co-host.
And I'm Elyse Cizek. That actually kind of worked this time. Ooh, I like how this is evolving. How are you?
Good.
Yeah?
So we have a lot to cover.
We do have a lot to
ton.
cover. Yes.
So I've been trying to say that this episode is one that was the most challenging, at least for me.
Ooh, really?
Yes.
Okay. This interview?
Mm-hmm.
Also for me, one of the reasons why I wanted to have the guest that we have today is because she reached out to me based on something that I had said on our last episode. And I appreciate that. I really appreciate that because I love being wrong. I love being wrong. I think it's one of the superpowers that people don't, that we judge when somebody's like, oh, well, you were wrong. Ha ha, what's wrong? Like, no, I don't learn anything unless I'm wrong sometimes. And I also don't know that I'm entirely wrong about my argument, but I have new facets and new levels to my argument about AI art. And so we have an incredible AI artist on our podcast today. And she's going to run through everything that I was missing in that argument. And I think it's really, it's such a fun conversation. It's a really, really fun conversation. And I'm excited that we get to have that. But before we do, we did something this weekend.
Something crazy.
Something crazy. What did we do this weekend?
We drove for 12 hours to spend 3 hours at the Deco Showcase house. That was, yeah.
Yeah.
However, I don't regret it.
I don't either. It was so fun. So first off, we should mention it was in San Francisco.
Wait.
The San Francisco Decorator Showcase House.
Sorry.
It's okay. You're doing great.
I mean, it could have been. We could have been driving 12 hours to go to Beverly Hills, but that's not the case.
Truly. I mean, but so we were in San Francisco, which was incredible. The weather was insane. It was the best I've ever seen it. Driving through San Francisco this time, I'm like, oh my God, it's such a beautiful city. And I've been there so many times before, but sometimes it's cloudy or raining. So
funny.
I have a very different experience with it, but wow, it was gorgeous. And the showcase house, absolutely breathtaking. So tell me what your opinions on it were.
I loved 90% of it. I thought that the quality of the work, the creativity, we obviously, we have a couple designers. Kaylee Hall used our gray sofa from Kimberly Denman, and Kathleen Navarro, who's a dear friend, used a pair of our Geo armchairs. So I wanted to see that and wanted to support them. But overall, I thought that the quality of the furnishings, the quality of the art, the creativity in some of the rooms, the quality of the craftsmanship was really outstanding.
Yeah.
Damien Jones nightstands, brass inlay on the mantle. Jeff D'Souza did a fantastic living room with art that was pretty spectacular. I'll let you speak about your couple favorite rooms.
Oh, I have a couple favorite rooms.
Yeah.
For sure. Julie Roots. First, this is just a shout out to Julie Roots because she's rad. And I was like going through a lot of her work yesterday because I've just like been fangirling about her a little bit. She did a formal dining room that is so creative. When you walk into a space, and when a designer, this is one of the reasons why I ask designers this question. Like when you walk in, what's the first thing that you notice? And when she walked into the space before it was done, she had seen there were some details that she wasn't really that into, and she came up with the idea of tenting the room. So completely covering wall and ceiling with fabric and pleated fabric. And it was...
And not just any fabric.
Not just any fabric.
Sandra Jordan
alpaca fabric. it has a warmth to it that is really, it's unmatched. The acoustics in that room were incredible because when you use that much fabric, then you allow yourself to have a quieter conversation. So it's not echoing through the space. Like it was such a calming and also very sexy room. It's a very sexy room.
Furnishings were on point. Lighting was on point. I was impressed.
Cast bronze chairs that were what, 80
John
pounds
Light?
each?
Yeah. Very heavy.
But it was very like Moroccan themed, and I love when you can tell that the designer was inspired but isn't trying to replicate.
Right.
And that was something that we noticed when we went to Pasadena, which we saw a lot of designers that were inspired but trying to replicate. And in this, you were able to see the inspiration come from a lot of different places, and that all of those were brought together to in a really unique way per each designer. But the dining room was my favorite room in the house for sure. Also a really big fan of, there's an outdoor sort of lounge area. It was inside, so it was fully enclosed, but it was on the rooftop, which is a really, really cool space. Is it John K. Anderson? Yeah, JKA. And I also really loved that room. So his theme was out west and sort of like psychedelic 70s. But when I say psychedelic 70s, you have something like, everyone has something that pops into your head and you're like, oh no.
Right. Ouch.
Like, oh God, I hope he didn't do that. And he didn't. I loved how mature this space was. He definitely used color. He used color in the art, in some of the fabrics, in the accessories of the space. But the actual room itself, like the wallpaper, or the wall coverings, the rug, like everything was more subdued. And so it allowed for this little bits of playfulness throughout the space. It was a beautiful sectional sofa. You went and sat on it, and I was looking around. I'm like, this is a place that you hang. It felt like a place that you hang out. There was a bar there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, well thought out.
Record
big
player.
room too.
Yeah. And I felt like it felt like a private space. It didn't feel like you were overly exposed. It would be a really cool place to like hang out with your friends, and like, or if you're having a house party that like, oh, I'm going outside, going up to the rooftop, and that would be the coolest area of the party, where all the people that you want to hang out with would be.
Yeah.
But I think overall the showcase house was really, really impressive. I was really impressed with the amount of work and the amount of thought and care that went into it, and the fact that they only have 3 months to put it together.
It's insane.
That's insane. I mean, Julie Roots had a custom rug made in that amount of time.
And Kelly's kitchen.
The
cabinets all flown by. I mean, that was.
They were flown in from the UK.
I think that might have been Da Vinci marble.
Yeah,
I mean,
Da Vinci marble.
The cabinets, I can't remember the name of the company. I'm really sorry.
No, but it is a UK company.
It's a UK company.
I'll put that in the show notes for sure.
Because they were impressive.
They were very impressive.
I thought that Kathleen was true to herself, very chic, very sophisticated.
Everything in her room was so harmonious.
Yeah.
Everything fit. It all made sense. I love it when you can walk into a space and you're like, every piece in here was considered.
I know that the primary bedroom I really liked. I thought that it was warm, it was elegant. There were a lot of details. Those marble archways in the bathroom.
That was so beautiful.
That was well done.
Yes. She also had a poured resin translucent tub.
Yeah.
And I guess I'd seen photos of it, but when you see it in person, you really want to get in it. I really wanted to take a bath in there. It looked so cool. So we will be posting some photos, and I'm going to make a post this week talking about the showcase house because it was awesome. I took a bunch of pictures while I was there, and it was really nice to see Jeff and to see some of the other designers, and to meet a bunch of new people.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really fun. And I will say it was worth driving 12. It wasn't 12. It was like 11.
But
Yeah.
we lucked out. I mean, traffic.
Traffic
we
was
didn't hit
fine.
any traffic, and
Yeah.
so it was worth it. And we love San Francisco. We want.
And I had the best burger. I had such a good burger. No, I would say
Yes.
it was worth it.
It was worth it. Nopa
Nopa.
on Divisadero.
Oh my
Wow.
God. It was so good.
It was excellent.
You know how in LA, like all the burgers, they like smash them and like, yes, they taste good and it's fine. But like sometimes, and this is, I told you this, I'm like, I kind of just want to like eat a burger with two hands, where I just want to hold it with two hands and just like, you know what I mean? And that's what I got in this burger. It was so big, thick burger, just like a ton of meat. I'm a meat eater, obviously, but it was perfectly cooked. Cheeseburger, it rocked my world. It was amazing. And we got to sit like right next to the kitchen, which was really cool. Like this like little high top chef's table. It was such a fun experience. Everything that we ate there was so good, but that burger, ooh, I'm going to go back. I have to go back now. We might just have to drive back just for the burger next time.
Just for the burger. All right.
Okay, but because we have such an incredible guest today, we should probably go ahead and get to it. I do want to say that this episode with this interview, it happened spontaneously, where I got a DM on TikTok or a comment on TikTok, and I'm texting with Margaret right away, and I'm like, okay, you need to come on the show. What are you doing tomorrow? And having her on in such a quick turnover was so fun, and it really allowed for me to learn something new and to have a brand new experience about AI.
And AI is controversial, to say the least. I think that it won't be controversial as an art form. It's a conversation worth having. Mm-hmm. And I was really impressed. So I can't wait for everybody to listen to that interview, and then we need to keep the conversation going.
Yes, I think we should absolutely keep the conversation
going. Because AI
going.
definitely in our industry, in art, in design, is going to take a bigger role, and mm-hmm. we need to be able to talk about it. And it was neat to talk to someone who actually uses it, understands it, mm-hmm. comes from an artistic background, and so that I agree with everything. No, but it mm-hmm. was a good conversation to have.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so should we get to it?
All right, let's go.
Welcome to Clutter Bravado. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm so great. How are you?
I'm really good. So normally we have your friends on, people that you've known for a long time, people in your industry. And today we have one of my very longtime friends. How long have we known each other?
Oh gosh, it's got to be at least 8 years because I've been here for 9.
Yeah,
so
I think it's around 8. That's wild. That's amazing. So Margaret is an incredible artist. We met when we met. You photographed me. I modeled for you.
That's right. And you were doing music, and you needed
yes.
marketing pictures. We had a great time.
We had so much fun.
You're still on my website.
I saw that. I'm still on there. Oh, it's cute. But the reason why I wanted to have you on today is that we were talking in the comments of my TikTok because I posted a reel about being upset about AI art. And that's not the first time that I've talked about it on the show. You'll discover if you go back a little bit further. I have strong opinions about AI art.
You have strong opinions in general.
I do.
Yeah.
But I have strong opinions about AI art, and I posted a video on TikTok, and you responded like, "Oh, interesting. Do you know that I make AI art?" And I when we were talking about it on the episode, and I'm like, I have a friend that does use AI to make art, and I was referring to you. but I thought that you would agree with me, and you don't. And so
Asterisk.
I wanted to have you on so that you can give a little bit more dimension to the AI art topic. You have a lot of knowledge in it. You've been working in it for quite a while. So the first thing I want to ask you is how you ended up finding, discovering, or deciding to play with AI as a medium for your art.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was 2022. I was working in Santa Monica at a NFT gallery that is since defunct, but it was a really exciting time for me. I was also postgraduate school. I'd gotten my MFA in photography at the University of Hartford Limited Residency Program. And during that time, my thesis had revolved mostly around self-portraiture, some still lives as well, but predominantly looking at the female form in the context of feminine identity, sexuality, social media, all that fun stuff. And at a certain point post-grad, I was exhausted trying to look at myself anymore. I was just sick of it.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, a coworker who has a filmmaking background and is also a digital artist, he said, "Have you used Midjourney?" And I was like, "No, what's that?" And he was like, "Oh, it's really exciting. Like, you should try it out." And I had to get Discord pilled, right? Which thankfully had happened because of NFTs. That's like a whole other side quest.
I don't want to talk too much about NFTs.
We don't have to.
Okay,
We'll
great.
do another episode.
We can do another episode about that because that was something that you were the first person that I knew personally that was in the NFT sphere.
Yes.
And so that's really fascinating. And so you ended up on Discord through that.
Correct.
And then Midjourney is on Discord.
Correct. Yeah. It's a bot that gets installed on a Discord server.
Okay.
And basically, I realized very quickly that you have to type things in order to get a visual response, which as a photographer was mind-blowing. I'd never used words to create something visually. But of course, being a self-portraitist, I was like, I want to see if the AI will make me.
Yeah.
And very quickly, I learned that I had to use descriptive, objective, and sometimes culturally unflattering language because I am, for all intents and purposes, a plus-size woman. I don't really fit into a size binary, but it was really challenging to figure out how to describe something to create it visually, especially for an AI that I have no idea what it's being trained on. And it was this moment of discovery where I would find things that kind of looked like me, but very quickly realizing that the subjective nature around language being translated into a visual media is like the Wild West.
Interesting.
And it was 3 years ago too. So, I mean, as you've known, the technology has very rapidly evolved.
Yeah.
So even in that short 3 years, it's been crazy. Like,
wow. Okay. So that adds another level to it because I've used Midjourney to make interior, like inspirational rooms for an interior designer. And it was always disclosed. We always said, like, this is an AI image. It's an AI render that we put together as an inspiration for this. And I will say that in using prompts to create those, one of the biggest challenges that I had is that AI doesn't understand the purpose of a lot of things in a room.
What do you mean?
So, for example, faucets. It would put 6 faucets in a room, and I would be very clear about everything with one faucet, and still, like, there would, no matter what, there were always at least 4, and so I'm like, okay, can we? And trying to navigate around that, where I'm like, oh, it has a blank spot of what this is, so I'm like, I would take a screenshot or like zero in on this, like, this is a faucet.
Oh no.
Only 4 of them.
Oh no.
And then it would be 6 faucets. And it's like, got it. No problem. Sorry about that. And then more faucets. So anyway, but there are other things that it didn't seem to really get when it came to like the physics of a room and how you actually live in it. But from a perspective of creating self-portraiture through AI, there are a lot of things that we would say about ourselves and ways that we would describe ourselves that maybe it doesn't understand or that it has a different definition for. That's really fascinating that you landed there.
Yeah, and it's interesting because inherently it caused me to reevaluate old biases that I held internally that I thought I had worked through, specifically around fat phobia.
Okay.
But it's very funny because we have a tendency to personify AI as if it has like a sense of understanding, and it doesn't. It's an algorithm based set of systems that works on training data that that Midjourney, if we're going to speak about Midjourney, has provided to it. And the thing about AI is that it's generative, so the more you use it, the better it gets. So, you know, I would say for both of us, check in with it a year from now and see if it's still giving you 6 faucets when you ask for 4. Because now when I ask for a fat woman, 9 times out of 10, it'll give me that based on other kind of setting parameters. But in the beginning, it was like morbidly obese, Jabba the Hutt-esque, or a woman with a big butt, but very, very thin waist. And it was because I think it just didn't have enough training of those kinds of prompts and being forced to generate those kinds of images through those language prompts.
Have you done any research on the demographics of people that started training the AI at the beginning?
I have not, but I know somewhat about what must be the case, and it's all inference through my own usage.
Okay.
One of the things I know for sure is that it has not been trained on any nude female forms whatsoever. Because
really?
I think it's overwhelmingly disproportionately like bare-chested men, because I have received bare-breasted women in my visual outputs, but the nipples are very small, almost like they're male nipples.
Really?
Which is so strange. And it wasn't until someone pointed that out to me when my work was on view in a solo exhibition in Berlin in 2023. They said, those look like male nipples. And I was like, of course.
That's fascinating.
Because it can't use any nude women, even in a just scientific or anthropological sense, because of the biases of, you know, the female form inherently being sexualized.
Yeah.
So because there are very strong restrictions on what you can ask for in a prompt as it relates to nudity, sexuality, sexual content, anything like that. You can't ask for it, but the AI will still give me a nude woman even if I don't ask for it. It has. And it's happened with other people that I know that have worked in similar topics, specifically like the topics of homosexuality and like gay culture. I have a friend who's received penises in outputs. He didn't ask for them.
Whoa.
It's really wild.
That's so interesting. And I actually, I didn't think that I knew that there was the restriction around sexual content on Midjourney.
Well, it's interesting because it doesn't even have to be sexual. It's because Midjourney is using its own algorithmic-based filtering system, not unlike, let's say, Instagram, where someone like myself, and this has happened, where I'm wearing a bikini and I use an image of myself in a bikini as a source image, and it'll say, this doesn't meet our community guidelines. I'm like, because there's a lot of skin, or
that's
what? Because I'm covered.
Yeah.
But maybe it's the way I'm posing. Maybe it's the fact that I have a lot of surface area.
But I wonder if the same thing would happen with someone who was like in a thin body, who would like posting in a bikini. If that would happen.
I do have a peer who I exhibited work with at the Spring Break Art Fair this past May in New York City, and she had done the same thing, and she's fairly straight sized, and she had tried with bikini pictures and no dice, and that was a couple years ago. So she moved into Stable Diffusion, which is a locally based, like locally run system that you train your own images on that. So she used all her own imagery, was not restricted by community guidelines or anything like that, to create her own sort of output type versus me, where I'm engaging with sort of the mass available as conceptual commentary.
So as an artist, do you see those limitations disappearing, or are they, because they have to be limiting for your expression, right?
I don't know if I'm 100% sure what you're asking. What do you mean?
Like the fact that there's like such strict limitation to what you can do, and as an artist, you know, you should be free to do whatever you want, right?
I mean, that's one philosophy. I definitely am someone that thrives within limitations, especially creatively. If you put me in a box, I will find a way out of it, or I will work within the box in a way that is interesting and thought-provoking, which I think I have done and I always try to do when I am working with AI creatively. Because if I could make anything, then it would almost be boring. Like there's this like sense of antagonism towards me where I'm like, let's see if I can break it. And that's a lot of the artists that are working with these systems, also just code-based digital art in general. Like we're trying to work outside of the intended uses of something. So yeah.
I have a question because I feel like I'm from I was born in the 20th century, and now I feel like I'm actually from the 19th century. It's really bad.
Well, you're an expert in 18th century.
Right, exactly. And I feel like I just got transported to a whole new world. So for people like me, old, give us a little bit of your background and evolution and what AI. What do you mean when you say I work with AI? Because I think that there's a lot of not understanding of what you're about. As an artist.
I get it.
Well, I would say that I have a background in photography, which I think is really important to understanding my relationship to the tool of AI, because inherently the camera was created as a tool for painters. So if my chosen medium is something that was initially not designated as an artistic creative tool, I think makes sense that I would go to AI, which is not necessarily, it's more seen as like something that's helpful for doing sketches of rooms or diagrams or helping you meal plan, like things like that where the intended use is subverted, right? Same with a camera. But what I find most fascinating is this element of chance that happens, because when I say generative, I mean that it informs, it builds upon itself, and in a way that is not necessarily controlled, but is the result of code and systems and programming that are all way beyond my comprehension, frankly. But I think that's why I was so fascinated with Midjourney, is because it is designed to be used by the everyday person. And I had been intimidated by working with code or anything that required a programming or computer science background. And so to be able to almost similarly pick up a camera or open up a Discord server and just start typing, it felt really liberating in that I could use this to play, and I can try and see things, anything that I would possibly imagine. And I didn't always get that, but I think that's okay, because sometimes I got even more than what I had bargained for. And when I say I work with it versus I use it, it is me working with this AI. We, if I could personify it, work together. I'll give it a set of parameters or, prompts that I'm like, take me somewhere with this. Show me what you think, and then let's see what happens next and what ideas I will have based on what it gives me. So it's this back and forth sort of collaboration. But at the end of the day, I am still the one making the final selections of like, okay, this is the piece. Or I like what you did here. I see AI as like my art assistant, my art protege. I'm like, give me 4 images using the prompts of a fat woman in Joshua Tree with holographic pearls and rainbows, like something like that. And it's like, okay, yes, sure. I'm like, give me a lot of variation between each one. Yes, of course, got it. It gives it to me. We're close. Let's go again. Let's try one more time.
Try it again.
Okay. Oh, this one is really strong. Yeah, let's see 4 more of that. I like that. Okay. Oh, yeah. Here, how about if I change this? Like, that's a little too much. Let's dial it back, So it's.
Have you ever created an image using AI before?
I've not created an image using a camera. Stop it.
You have. Come on. No. Anyway, but
I've been on ChatGPT for the first time 5 days ago.
I know.
So I am completely new. This conversation is fascinating because, being an old man from the 19th century, I'm totally against. I mean, not against, but there's an understanding that I don't have. I mean, it's like, and I'm looking at it as. So I think the issue for some people, like I'm too old. It's like by the time this thing is relevant, I'll be dead. But in fact, I won't. So it's a great conversation because
you're
I think
55. You're not 70.
But in my world, where AI is now, we expect it to be relevant in 30 years. And it will be relevant in, I mean, it's already relevant.
It is, yeah.
And so, but you know, the changes were happened, but it took so long, you know, for the first phone to, you know, we used the phone for 30 years. You know what I mean?
The rotary phone, yeah.
And I mean, nothing had changed from picking up a phone and having an operator and being like, hey, I need, you know, to the rotary phone. I don't know, it's 30 years, 40 years. It was the same tool. I mean, you know, we had a few more numbers, but it was the same tool until the smartphone came. But it took 40 years. Now, the iPhone came out, and 10 years later, you're talking to a computer about doing art.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling. I'm not used to it.
Yeah.
I'm used to, you know, a slow pace of change. So it's true that AI, I look at it now, and for me, instinctively, I'm like, it's going to take, you know, 30 years before it becomes relevant, whereas it's not. And that's fascinating.
Well, one thing I will say is that there have been people exploring, developing, utilizing, and working with AI for over 2 decades.
Yeah, for a very long time.
There was a really great exhibition, I can't remember the name of it, but it was last year at LACMA, and it showed some of the earliest AI work was actually created, I think, in the 80s.
Okay.
I mean, it obviously was not what we're working with now, but it's sort of like, yes, it feels like it's happening fast because it's just now coming to the consumer level, but it's been in the works. I mean, you have been using an iPhone for the better part of 2 decades now, almost. And, you know, Google Maps uses AI, your phone uses AI, the camera in your phone uses AI. Like, it's always been there. It's just not had such an overt spotlight on it, like for the purpose of AI. It's always been baked into something that has maybe felt a little more subtle, but now it's aggressive and it's in your face. And people are realizing the monetary potential. I mean, from a just like capitalistic society or capitalistic stance, to, you know, the day to day. And I think the controversy, of course, is augmenting it. But I do think something that I am really passionate about is visual literacy. And I believe, and maybe this is me being a techno optimist, is that as people become more exposed to AI generated imagery, they will be able to recognize it better. And I know that sounds like really, really optimistic.
It does.
But I use myself as an example.
Yeah.
Like, I still have yet to be fooled. And granted, I'm looking at it way more than the average person, but I think that says something.
Yeah, and I this is something that you saw me do this on TikTok for a while. I was going through AI, especially AI interiors, and going through and like looking at the things, like what are the things that will make this obvious to you that this is an AI image. And I do this with you sometimes. Like, there's an entire account that posts only AI interiors, never discloses that it's AI, and keeps talking about this big project that it's doing in Paris, and all of the photos, like everything that it posts is AI image. And that feels dangerous because that's a way of manipulating people around you to believe, like, it's a way of convincing someone that something is real when it is not. And I am really, like, when it comes to AI art, this is where I know that I can already see you. You're like ready for this.
Bring it on, baby.
The piece in question that really irritated me because it was an image that was printed on a canvas and then framed on a canvas as if it was a painting. And we had a small discussion about this too, that I don't like it, period. I don't think it's good. But if someone had painted it, then it's something that would feel impressive, even if it is ugly.
Right. Yeah, no,
because someone was capable of doing that, loves taking the time with a very fine brush and like actually painting it. And there's a value that the technicality and the skill that I have for that, and I think a lot of other people have for that too. So talk to me about that when it comes to the technical skill versus like what the final product is. Because if I'm not saying that there's not a skill in creating a specific prompt and working with technology.
No, there is
100%.
100%.
There absolutely is. There absolutely is. But that when someone is using AI, not disclosing it and saying, look at this painting, I have a problem with it.
Well, I think one of the things that sparked you bringing me on here was you said, you had asked me, well, do you disclose that your work is AI generated? And I said, well, of course. And you said, well, that would have changed my perspective on the piece. And I said, but given the reaction you had so aggressively in your podcast, why would that person feel comfortable coming forward? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's you are one of many people that I think is having this strong reaction, but imagine like, I mean, and I know this because it's happened multiple times since I've used it where people have not disclosed and it comes from fear and that lack of acceptance because people are like, AI is taking jobs or AI is ruining culture and like destroying human artistry. Like you can still go be a painter. Well, no one is stopping you from being a painter.
I will say this though, that with that piece, if it was disclosed that this was like an AI art piece, I probably would have had less of a reaction to it. The thing that pissed me off was that it wasn't disclosed and it was passed off as a painting. Does that make sense?
Well,
when I feel like I'm being deceived, like don't deceive me, don't lie to me. Like I'm able to like give me the information and I'll handle it the way that I can. But if you're not giving me the information, then I feel like I'm being duped. And when I feel duped, I get very uncomfortable. And I think that's where a lot of people are uncomfortable with AI is that when they look at it, they think that it's real. They think that it's a video or that it's a photograph. It's something that actually happened. And then when you realize that it's an AI generated image, you're like, oh, there's that fear that comes of like, oh my God, I don't know what's real.
What makes it art? What makes what you do art?
We're going to, ooh.
Well, ooh.
I'm gonna be honest. We had a fascinating conversation before recording, and you're so good that go for it. Go for it.
So one of the things you touched on is like you would have been impressed if somebody had painted this piece. I think that what it boils down to is a philosophical outlook of what art is supposed to do and what it's supposed to achieve. I am not someone that is impressed by technical skill. I don't doubt that it is inherently impressive, but as an artist myself, I want to know what it means, what it's trying to tell me, what questions is it asking, how is it contributing to art and the conversations around art as a whole. Something that took you a long time and like is, I don't know, like very technically sound. It's not doing anything. It's great, but it's not moving me. So inherently, I think I'm at a place where I'm more receptive to art being about ideas and concepts and engaging with culture and society. So I am more willing to look past how something is made in lieu of what it's talking about. And for the record, the piece in question, it's ugly and it's not doing any of the things that I'm talking about right now.
True, it's not.
It is what we would call AI slop, which I am not here to say that there is no such thing. But there's also really shitty paintings, really shitty photograph, like stuff that is so bad. And that's sort of just like kind of the nature of art in general is like you can't have only good art. You're going to have bad art.
So for the old people, the way I saw that conversation is the reaction that we would have had in front of a Man Ray or Marcel Duchamp.
Yes.
So it's just so that and nobody be like, no, it's AI. There's a valid point there.
And I think it also comes from, I mean, photography fought so hard to be taken seriously as a medium, but where I find photography most compelling these days is when it's used as a foundation. So I'm really informed by the pictures generation, like Richard Prince and Cindy Sherman, Barbara Kruger, these artists that like thought, okay, I can use photography as my grounded basis, but I'm going to need to move forward and like elevate it more and add more to it because the picture is ubiquitous. You see pictures every day. It becomes part of, you know, our culture and like everyday society. And with all of us holding little cameras on our phones, what more are you like, how do you take it to another level? And I think anything that asks an artist to be more considerate in concept and ideas is a great thing.
Yeah.
Because it really asks people to step it up. And I think we see amazing art when people are forced to push and champion ideas over simple technical skill.
I think one of the things that I love about your work too, because after, like, you sent me, this was the best part of the conversation, that you had commented on my post and I was like, oh, and so I jump in text messages immediately. I'm like, okay, so we need to talk. I have a question for you about this, and what about this? And this is the piece in question, whatever. And then you start sending me, you're like, I made this, like, I use this, I made this using AI. And I was like, oh my God, it's gorgeous. I love that.
So we will link.
We will absolutely. And
Thank you.
and we'll probably make a post on. I mean, I'm already writing an article about you. So anyway,
yay.
I love your art and I love what you're creating. And I think the thing that I love the most about it is that I'm curious about the story behind it. Every once in a while, I will see a piece of art and I'm like, oh God, I hate that. I think it's hideous. And I don't care. And I don't want to look at like what it's about. I think when I first consume it, I see it, I will, if it makes me hate it, I want to know more about it.
Exactly.
If it makes me like have an emotional reaction of any kind, I want to know more about it. And that's when I dig into the concept. The thing that I noticed, what you were talking about, AI slop, is that like, I'm just thinking of like all of the Facebook posts that I've seen that are just like hideous.
Which
AI.
are art in their own way.
Okay.
They are art in their own right. They are performance art, and they are absurdist art, in my opinion.
It absolutely is absurdist.
In the same way a meme is art.
We're gonna come back to that because I do want to address that too. But but what I noticed too about your work is that you have such a clear and concise. Like if you look at your whole collection, I know what message is in there. I know what questions you're asking. I know the way that you're putting a mirror up to society, which is what you were saying that AI does, that it puts a mirror up to us. This is what we're creating. This is what we're talking about. But I do want to talk about what's happening with Facebook right now. So Facebook, for most people, Facebook it's a part of the quote unquote dead internet theory where, most of the posts that are going up there are AI generated, and then most of the comments on the posts
are also
AI generated. So it is just a computer talking to itself, and then occasionally my parents sharing it.
Yeah.
Or other people's grandparents or parents sharing it or engaging with it. And I have about 5 friends that are active on there, and then other than that, it's completely dead, except for these absolutely absurd AI posts. So some of them will be, because of it's for everyone's individual algorithm. Some of them for me are interiors, and those are the ones that I usually share on my TikTok and talk about. And they're goofy. And then other ones are like fake historical photos of like the time that like, I don't know, like Mickey Mouse and Marilyn Monroe were hanging out together. So something like that will happen. And then there's the political ones.
Did they?
So,
Or the Pope.
You
Remember Popegate? R.I.P.
Yes,
Pope
of course.
Francis
R.I.P. Pope
dripped
Francis.
out in that puffer.
Oh my God.
People were like, that was when
wild.
people
Yeah.
realized how good AI generated imagery was getting, because they were duped for that.
The thing that I've noticed too is that we currently have a political administration. I've noticed that on the White House Instagram, sometimes they're reposting AI videos and AI images of a certain figure, as a king, as a pope, as various things. So do you feel like there is an element of danger in AI and sharing AI art online?
Yes, I think anything can have inherent danger, in the same sense that the internet allowed for chat rooms for people who had very specific ideas to all gather together and share those specific ideas in a way that led to some specific things that happened.
Truly.
But I think that inherently, the more that you're exposed to AI generated imagery, the more you're going to be able to recognize it. Like I said, it's again sort of a techno optimism in me, and I'm happy to be wrong. In fact, I might be wrong. We'll see. But I think that I mean, Instagram is getting better at recognizing AI generated imagery. I know this because I shared one of my artworks last week, and inherently it had AI info in the like tag or the location bar area. When in the past, when I've shared it before, it didn't have that. So I think it's recognizing it. So that's good. That post didn't perform particularly well, and I'm wondering if that has anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Or it's just because it's AI and people don't like it. I don't know, and I don't really care to think too hard on it. But of course there's danger in sharing it. Like, yes, obviously.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I said, there danger in sharing like very graphic and violent imagery that we see every day. Like us being bombarded with certain images from certain parts of the world on our Instagram stories. Like, I don't know. Like, I think we're in an end times where I'm like, I can't really say that anything is everything is bad. It's all bad. So I'm going to at least make some art that's interesting and makes people stop and have a reaction. Because
And also a lot of your work is really beautiful.
Thank
too.
you.
Truly.
You did a presentation in New York. How do you say it? A fair in New York.
Yes.
What was the topic? So tell us what the topic was. What do you communicate with that?
Yes. The theme of the fair was Paradise Lost and Found, which was fairly open-ended. My curator worked, her name's Lauren Hirschfield. You know Lauren.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
We know,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Lauren, amazing curator, my
Love
best
her.
friend.
Oh my God. We did karaoke together, didn't we? No.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, she's great.
A very fun evening that was.
Margaret and I've had a lot of really fun evenings.
A lot of good
I've heard
stories.
it,
Yeah. Not for this podcast, but
Not for here, but for another one, definitely.
Yes. But so Lauren curated the works of myself and my co-exhibiting artist, Leah Schrager, who I had mentioned trained her own stable diffusion model on her imagery. She's based in the Sonoran Desert. And just on her stance alone, like, it revolutionized her art practice because she has 2 kids under the age of 4. She had relocated out of New York City, and for her to be able to create using effectively her computer and then decades worth of imagery to reinvent and reimagine and have new ideas around her art was very revolutionary. So we both exhibited works, but the theme or the exhibition presentation for our booth was The Hottest Flame is a Ribbon, which explored this idea of Empyrean and Empyrean being the highest attainable level of heaven, sort of like Nephilim and like these, like, I don't even like the sort of angelic, like, reverence of total attainment. And we hypothesized, what can AI do to imagine ourselves when not inhibited by the limitations of physics and bodies and the biological and these kinds of ideals? Where can we go? And so you saw in this presentation of the works, like, for me it was a lot of like angels that were part of my Fat Feminine series, so like, because you never see a fat angel unless it's a little baby, and like these powerful figures that are sort of embodying this sense of just an elevated and sort of penultimate state of existence. Whereas Leah's work was really moving into abstraction, informed by Dali and Picasso and Calder in her figure, like completely relinquishing anything recognizably human into this sort of dreamlike state. So together, they sort of complemented one another in that regard, and thinking about how can AI sort of relieve us from our flesh prisons.
Flesh prisons, yeah. I also love hearing the way that you describe this work too, because there are a lot of people out there that are not as intentional and don't have the real value of the message that you are, sharing in your art. And I feel like there is something that's really, really special about that. And I'm not gonna lie, you are changing my view a little bit on AI art. Now, that being said, you are exceptional at it. So far, you're the exception.
Happy to be
But
the
I think
exception.
I mean, I think you're right in the sense that there's a lot of shitty paintings. I mean, you go to auction houses and there's hundreds of paintings that are
Museums
worth
even.
between $20 and $40. Now, there's, what makes, then the value of art is debatable. It's another topic. And,
Yes.
and I think that we probably should have another episode on, because I have questions of what the value of that is, similar to the NFT. What's the value of an NFT? What's the value of an AI art? And then the future of it, because where do we, and it was my question when we had lunch, do you feel like, because you've been working with your program, is it getting better as an artist, or are you getting better, or, how does that work? Because there's something fascinating on what you're going to, for a true artist. I mean, I think it's changing my way of also, we talk about the writing part, of can you write something really good with ChatGPT if you're a good writer, versus me, who I've never written anything and I'm going to give him shitty prompt and he's going to give me a shitty article. There's something there that I'm discovering with you. I mean, it's like you're opening up, my mind to at least considering the fact that we're not going to all die with AI.
We could, but
but
not today.
You are so yeah, you are an artist using a brand new medium. Now, how many people are, like, when you did your exhibit in New York, how many of you were AI artists?
It was just the two of us.
Wow.
We were the first exhibited AI artwork in the history of Spring Break Art Fair, which has been going on for 15 years, about 14. So that was pretty monumental. And
How was it received?
in general, very curious, interested. I was only there for 2 days of the fair, and there was only one person that was like, I hate AI. And I'm like, okay. She was a photographer and she was older, and I was like, I can sense your energy from before you even came in the room. Like, I was just like, yes, okay. But in general, very positive people. And I think it was this idea that, like, the AI slop people had this idea of what it looked like. And like I've said, that's only ever my intention, is if you're going to have your opinion on AI, like, all I ask is that you try it yourself and then look at my art.
Yeah.
And if you still feel the same way, cool. But
I guarantee you that, because we'll do this later, I guarantee you that whatever you...
It's going to look like a hand-wrote cat.
You are not going to get anywhere near where she's at. So, yes.
But in the sense that you asked, has AI made me a better artist, and have I made AI a better artist? I would say 100%. I mean, inherently, I am part of something that is on the verge. And for me, I think it's informed by my exposure to early computer art and code-based algorithmic art from the 1970s and 80s that was predominantly overlooked and dismissed as not being real art. It was more design. Artists like Vera Molnar, Herbert Franke, to name a few, all these pioneers of digital art that are now kind of getting their flowers because of NFTs, which was a medium for monetizing and archiving digital art that previously did not exist. That's another podcast.
Yeah.
But
We need to have you on again. That's what I'm learning. Yeah, absolutely.
It feels so important that I work with this tool right now, because it already has evolved so much. I was looking back recently at outputs from 2022, and you would be shocked at how rudimentary it is. But there is this impetus that I think a lot of the artists working with AI have. That's like, the time is now to be creating with this, because we want to have this record of what it was once like before it gets so sleek and so indistinguishable, so much almost like a one-to-one replica of a photograph, which I don't think it'll ever achieve personally, but that can be another debate. That I want to sort of plant my flag and say, here's what I was doing with AI when AI was first coming out and it was first being used. Because one day I think and I believe there will be a desirability factor from a collecting standpoint, similar to people that are really into old computer art. There will be that same thing for AI. So that a lot of my community has that outlook of why it's important to make art with AI right now.
Wow. Okay, we have to close out.
All right.
I know, I have so many more questions.
I also
You have
don't
to
know that
come
I
back.
finished answering all your
You
questions,
did.
but
Honestly, you're fantastic. I loved having you on. We're gonna have you on again. Also, you need to just come hang out because I miss you and I love you.
I
so
know,
much.
and you're so close to me now.
I know. You're like right over there.
Literally.
So anyway, I have 3 questions that I have to ask you real quick before we wrap up.
Okay.
First question: what's the messiest place in your home?
Oh. Can I say the whole apartment?
Yes, you can.
Valid.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
valid.
I mean, yeah. No, my kitchen dry storage cabinets.
Okay.
Those are the messiest.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
Messy in that there's a lot in there that's just clutter.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
we
your
want to know
computer
about the
perfectly
clutter.
well organized?
It's relatively well organized, I would say.
See?
I'm a Capricorn. I
Yeah.
have organizational systems.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Second question. Normally we have this for like interior designers, which is like, what's the first thing that you notice when you walk into a space?
The smell.
Oh.
How something smells. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
There you go.
A little different from an interior designer, but
Yeah. No, I mean, actually, we had one. I think we had one say that. Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah,
Then I'm
that's
not
great.
alone.
I love it. And then last question. What is your favorite? Actually, I want to change this question for you. What is your favorite space that you have created using AI? An environment, a room.
probably my Los Angelizing series. So Los Angeles as I've created it with AI, because there's still so much that I feel like is true to life, but it's like with the absurdity and chaos cranked up. And it's one of those things where like you only get it really if you've lived here. Like it'll be interesting if you've never spent time here, but if you're from here or live here, you're like, oh my God, yes. Because it's how it feels living here. I think the picture of the airplanes on the 405, you're like, yes, I've had a dream about this.
Yeah, I've had that dream before.
And it can feel like you're taxiing at LAX on the freeway.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Something.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Margaret, I love you so much. Thank you so much for doing the
Thanks
show,
for
for
having
taking a little
me.
time out of your day and for hopping in.
So tell us where do people find you? Because it's a conversation.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
obviously
Yes.
is going to be ongoing. So where
Yeah.
do people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Margaret Murphy Art and on X at Margaret Online. I'm still there because the NFT community is there. And my website, margaretmurphy.xyz.
Perfect. You also have a Substack, yes?
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah.
It's Margaret Online. My
Margaret
Substack,
Online.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Beautiful. And we're going to, like I said, I'm working on a little article about you for our Substack too. So we'll make a little cross post there. So
Fantastic.
And I think that for the people who listen, please engage because it's really interesting.
yeah, definitely
And ask
check out our
questions.
stuff.
Yeah.
For sure.
We'll have follow up. So ask
Yeah.
questions.
And I'm not afraid.
No,
I'm not afraid of
apparently
anything.
not.
No.
So
This is why it's great for us to talk to each other because neither of us is going to like fully back down, but we had a great conversation. We're both curious.
and I wouldn't
about
want
it.
you
Yeah,
to.
Exactly.
Wouldn't want you to. Where's the
Exactly.
fun in that?
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.